Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty crucial. Those common spending habits that, well, might be quietly sabotaging your chances of building real wealth. We're digging into insights from Mark Tilbury's video, 8 Things You Have to Stop Buying to Get Rich.
Right.
Our mission here is to unpack these 8 potential traps and pull out the core wisdom for you, whether you're just starting out or, looking to fine-tune things.
Yeah, and some of this advice, it might sound a bit harsh, maybe, but it's really about being smart, strategic with your money, especially when you're younger.
It's not get rich quick.
Definitely not. It's about understanding that wealth comes from conscious choices made over the long haul, recognizing those hidden costs.
Okay, let's dive straight in then. First up, extended warranties. Mark calls them, and I quote, one of the biggest scams out there. That's strong language.
It is strong, yeah, but often pretty accurate. Retailers push them hard. Why? Because their profit margin on the actual TV or washing machine, whatever it is, can be surprisingly small. So the warranty, that's where they make good money. But here's the thing for you, you often don't need it.
How so?
Well, first, many credit cards already give you extended warranty protection. Check your card benefits.
Okay.
Second, the manufacturer's warranty usually covers the first year, maybe 2. So you buy a 3-year warranty, you might only be getting 1 extra year of coverage you didn't already have.
He tells the story about buying his first motorbike, a Yamaha DT100. The salesman used fear tactics, he said, made the warranty sound essential.
Right.
He described it as feeding on my bank account like some sort of vampire.
It's a great image, isn't it? Because it highlights how you're paying for it. Well, peace of mind you probably already paid for, or statistically don't need.
Factor in consumer rights, credit card protection.
Exactly. Adding that extra warranty often really is, like he says, throwing your money down the drain. You're insuring against a risk that's likely already covered or just not very probable in that extra year.
Okay, so from that kind of subtle drain, let's move to something much bigger. A new car. Mark calls it the #1 killer of wealth and financial freedom. Wow, why so emphatic?
It's a huge point because it taps into this deep desire, to look rich, feel successful, even if the finances aren't there yet.
Car finance trap?
Precisely. People take on these hefty monthly payments sometimes when they don't even own a home, maybe living paycheck to paycheck. And dealerships, they're masters at this. They focus you on the monthly payment, not the total cost. Oh, you can afford this much a month. Great. They just stretch the loan term out longer.
So it seems cheaper month to month, but you pay way more in interest over time.
And the car is losing value the whole time. It's a double whammy.
He shared a personal story, didn't he? At 19, wanting a car, then realizing a used one was literally half the price.
Yeah, real light bulb moment for him, it seems.
And that led to his rule. No new car unless passive income could cover it. He waited ages early 30s for his wife, 35 for himself. Even now, he mentions a Tesla for business, but day to day. Still uses an old van, that's also.
Discipline. It shows a fundamentally different mindset, doesn't it? Think about the numbers. The average U.S. car payment, $500, $600 a month. Every single month. Now imagine investing that $500 a month instead for 30 years. Average stock market return, say 10%.
You're looking at a lot.
Over $1 million for retirement.
Yeah.
Easily. So the question for you becomes, what's the real cost of that shiny new car to your future self? What could that money be building instead?
Okay, switching gears completely now. Penny stocks. You hear about people making fortunes, right? That allure is strong. But Mark calls them a real gamble.
More than a gamble, honestly. Often it's a game stacked against the small investor. The risks are huge.
Like what specifically?
Well, first off, their average annual return is actually negative, like minus 30% often. These are usually new companies, very little track record, very little information. You're flying blind. But the real danger, they're incredibly easy to manipulate. Their market caps, the total value of the company's shares are tiny, maybe under $300 million. And liquidity is low. Not many people buying or selling.
Which means?
Which means a few big players, whales, can easily push the price up artificially, then dump their shares, causing the price to crash.
He mentioned the Wolf of Wall Street stuff, boiler rooms, pumping up prices.
Exactly that kind of thing.
He even said he got lucky once, got out before the crash, but realized it just wasn't worth the stress, the risk.
Precisely. It looks like an opportunity, but it's often a trap. Unlike, say, Tesla with a $1 trillion market cap where big trades don't move the needle as much, penny stocks are fragile.
So for you listening, even if you hear success stories,
the odds are overwhelmingly against you long term. The potential downside just massively outweighs any speculative upside. It's not a wealth-building strategy.
Okay, moving away from big purchases and risky bets to everyday stuff. Eating out regularly. This one feels almost too obvious, but what's the deeper impact?
Well, the numbers alone are pretty stark. The average American household spends over $3,000 a year eating out. And that's not including alcohol.
Wow. Okay.
But beyond the money, it's also about habits and skills. Relying on restaurants means you might not develop skills like meal planning, cooking, budgeting for groceries, things that are actually pretty key for financial discipline.
And home cooking is usually cheaper and healthier.
Generally, yes. Much more control.
Mark mentioned that when he was focused on building wealth, he just saw eating out as a waste of money. He learned to cook, actually enjoys it.
Right.
And he brings up alcohol too, the cost, but also the lost productivity from hangovers. Says successful people don't have time for that. Even top CEOs limit drinking.
Yeah, it's a broader lifestyle point, isn't it? It shows how these small, seemingly insignificant daily choices really stack up. They affect your wallet, your health, your time.
It's about conscious choices versus just drifting along.
Exactly. Are you choosing immediate gratification, or are you building habits that support your long-term goals? It's strategic living, not deprivation.
Okay, next. Expensive gifts. This one touches on social pressure, especially when young, the friends forever idea.
Yeah, this is interesting because it challenges that expectation that you need to buy expensive things to show you care or to keep friends, especially when you're young. The core message he pushes is powerful. If love is in your heart, then it doesn't need to come out of your wallet. Honestly, when you're young, people don't usually expect lavish gifts.
And friendships can change a lot then, too.
Exactly. So spending heavily on gifts for maybe temporary connections, it's just not financially smart at that stage.
He really hammers this point. Every expensive buy, for yourself or others, is a major setback early on, because that's when you need to be investing, getting compounding, working for you.
Crucial time.
And he adds that killer line, just because you got it in your bank account doesn't mean you can afford it. That one hits home, doesn't it?
It really does. It's about prioritizing long-term security versus maybe a short-term social gesture. Are you getting caught up in buying fancy things you can't truly afford, especially if it means sacrificing investment in those critical early years?
Needs real self-discipline.
Absolutely. Recognizing true value versus perceived obligation.
Okay, from gifts to travel, specifically hotels. Travel's great, broadens the mind, we know that, but hotel costs.
Yeah.
They can really get out of hand.
They absolutely can. And the source doesn't just point out the problem, it offers some really creative solutions. It's about thinking differently about accommodation.
Thinking outside the hotel box.
Pretty much. Reconsidering what comfort really means when you're exploring.
He shared his own experiences from his early 20s, right? Making friends in cities he visited so he could stay with them later. Cheaper, and probably more fun.
Yeah, building a network.
And for trips closer to home, like for his radio-controlled model shows, he'd use a tent or just a blow-up mattress in his van, saved money, plus protected his gear.
Making adventure part of the savings plan. And then there's the ultimate example, converting the front of a lorry.
The penthouse suite on wheels.
Yeah. Sleeps 4, kitchen facilities. Saved him supposedly $10,000, and he sold it for a profit later. That kind of ingenuity. It was way before van life was a trendy hashtag.
Definitely ahead of the curve.
It just shows how creative thinking can tackle spending problems. So the question for you is, how can you apply that kind of creative problem-solving approach elsewhere in your budget? Turn drains into opportunities.
Love that. Okay, passion purchases. This hits a nerve for many. That feeling of, hey, I want to enjoy life now, not just be rich when I'm old. How do you square that circle?
It's a totally valid feeling. And the source argues it's not really an either. The key idea is you can save money and still have a lot of fun.
It doesn't have to be all sacrifice.
Not at all. His example was radio control models. Instead of always buying new, he'd repair old ones. Still fun. He enjoyed the tinkering, but it cost way less. Sometimes he even sold them for a profit. Vary. He suggests budgeting maybe up to 5% of your take-home pay for your hobby. And he loves the idea that whatever your passion, if you can make it pay for itself, then you're laughing.
Even now, being wealthy, he says he respects money, refuses to just splash out needlessly on hobbies. It's not about being cheap.
It's about strategic enjoyment.
It's
a mindset shift, isn't it? Moving from just consuming for your hobby to being creatively resourceful. Making your passions enhance your life without wrecking your finances, maybe even making them self-sustaining.
Instead of just a money pit.
Exactly.
Okay, final one. Untracked subscriptions. And the statistic here is kind of staggering. It's estimated that in this country, people waste $34 billion on unwanted subscriptions.
Billion. With a B. It's wild.
They don't even use. How does that happen?
Well, companies love subscriptions. It's recurring revenue, guaranteed money without constantly finding new customers, and they just add up so easily, don't they?
Yeah, a few quid here, a few dollars there.
And suddenly, it's a significant chunk each month. Plus, they can be tricky to manage.
Yeah.
There's a subscription for literally everything now. Toilet paper, razors, software, streaming.
It's that silent drip, drip, drip.
Exactly.
Easy to ignore.
But he makes a good point. Not all subscriptions are bad. Some can save money. He contrasted wasteful ones with, like, old-school blockbuster rentals.
Blockbuster.
Yeah. Renting a movie with friends instead of going to the cinema saved on tickets, popcorn, drinks, maybe parking or tolls, and arguably a better experience sometimes.
True.
And he positions something like Netflix today as similar, potentially a huge money saver for home entertainment compared to pay-per-view or cinema tickets constantly.
Yeah, the value proposition can be there. The real issue, the core problem, is people just forgetting or not bothering to cancel stuff they don't use anymore, which he calls absolutely bonkers.
And it kind of is when you think about it. Free money for the company.
Totally. So connecting it to the bigger picture for you. It's about vigilance. Regularly checking those recurring payments. Are you using it? Is it still good value? Actively managing your outgoings.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The core takeaway from this deep dive seems clear. Being really strategic about avoiding these 8 common spending traps. Warranties, new cars, penny stocks, eating out, pricey gifts, hotels, runaway hobbies, and forgotten subscriptions can make a massive difference to building wealth.
A huge difference.
And while we focused on cutting costs today, we should remember increasing income is, the other half of the equation.
Absolutely. But what this all means for you listening is that taking control starts with knowing where your money is actually going, being informed, being intentional.
It's not about feeling deprived.
No, it's about making conscious choices that line up with what you really want financially, long term. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If consciously cutting these common expenses and maybe adopting a more creative, resourceful mindset can free up significant cash, what other spending habits might you be holding on to? Maybe out of sheer habit or comfort or maybe perceived necessity rather than true value. And what could you really build if every single financial decision you made was a deliberate step towards your biggest, most ambitious goals?